Game started. Swing and a miss. Hey, hey, hey. My cows like it too. Thank you. Okay. I got one. You have
A minute, yeah.
everyone in attendance. So we'll get started.
Oops, sorry.
First, I'll look for a resolution to approve the minutes of the March 10th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
And second. Yep. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. You have in front of you the appointments. Don't need to pass them or anything, but if there are any questions or anything, more than willing to speak up now. Otherwise, we'll get right into planning with Terry Williker.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As my report, there's nothing outstanding or shattering amazing this month, unfortunately. So unless you have any questions, the only announcement that you already saw was that we are having the e-waste electronics recycling at the end of the month and registration still exists.
Nice addition to north and the south, right?
Yeah, we're still working out logistics with King and highways to do that, but it sounds like at least in the fall event we'll be able to offer pickups at both the north and the south end.
Okay.
Possibly going forward a couple times a year, which would be great.
Sure. Very good. Any questions you have for? Otherwise,
Awesome.
see you next week.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly with employment and training. How you doing?
Hi. Okay,
We
so
actually have a resolution.
I do. I'm not used to having resolutions. I even wrote myself a note, resolution.
We won't let you forget.
No, no. Do you want me to do that first?
Sure, why not?
So I have one resolution, and that is to enter into a lease agreement with Cayuga Community College for employment and training and Cayuga County.
Nothing there that's out of the ordinary.
No.
How we've been doing business. So.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing lease. We've had a lease with the college since 2003. The only change or difference is that this, course will be in a new location. So this will be effective July 1st. And then if we have not moved by then, the terms of the lease in terms of the rental amount will be effective July 1, regardless of the location that we're in. So.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make motion.
Second. Vito and seconded by Winslow. Any other further discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed?
I just wanted one question.
Yeah, you
Is the amount of the lease the same? I know it's great, it's covered by your funding, but is that 105,000 the same as you were paying?
Currently, we're paying close to 125,000.
Oh, so this would be paying less of the grant?
Yes,
Oh, great, okay.
correct. Yep, and then I will be so actually, sorry.
No, it passed, so we're moving.
Okay, so one of the things I was going to share is that moving along with the Office of General Services and the Property Management Division of the Department of Labor, one of the final things I had to do with them was the official walkthrough the Workforce Development Center, which happened last week. So we have a sublease with the Department of Labor. So how it works with me is I sublet to them and then I use their rent to offset my cost. So the 105 is the total, and then the rent that I collect from the Department of Labor, I use as revenue towards my rent. And then I do have a couple of cubicles that I can also do subleases to, which is part of the lease agreement with the college that I am allowed to sublet to, to other tenants, and that helps reduce what comes out of my grant, whatever I can bring in. So
Do they have to approve who you sublet to? I was just going landlord. That's fine. Any other questions from any legislators or otherwise? Thank you very much for your report.
Great. Thank you.
Move right along.
When are you gonna move in? Oh, I'm sorry.
We tentatively will be moving in, they're saying early summer, midsummer, before fall, I would
Yeah.
imagine. 90% of the main level is done where our resource room is, and it looks great. Upstairs, there's a lot of work to still be done, but the building looks amazing. So it's really, it's coming along, so.
Exciting.
It is exciting.
Good.
Thank you.
Doug Pierce. While Doug's come up here, I just want to touch base with the group and the department heads that are here. We have some department heads in this committee that we really don't necessarily have to hear from every month. So I was thinking about putting some of them on every other month. I think as the year goes on, we're gonna probably have more resolutions and stuff, so I'm trying to consolidate what we're doing, so we're not here, forever. Try to get the two committees to get done in a real reasonable time. So the two that I'm thinking about right off the bat is tourism and weights and measures. And honestly, as we go along, we can see how it goes with like water and sewer. Doug, you don't always have a resolution. If you have a resolution, I do want you here. I don't want to try to be presenting a resolution and person's not here to talk about it. Cornell Cooperative Extension, that's something we can discuss also. But for now, I would say that tourism and weights and measures, they're here tonight. Next month, we'll excuse them. And we'll keep moving along and adjust it as we need to, if that's okay with the committee. Is that okay with you?
A written report is fine. Just don't ask people to read it all the time.
Right.
We can read, most of us can, so the report is fine, but
Well, the reports will be still required.
well, as long as we get a report for them to be here physically is not necessary as far as I'm concerned. Yes.
Great, thank you. Hey, thank you.
Just kind of along those lines, we see over here, do we know where we stand with CETA? I mean, since I've been on the committee, I haven't seen them at any
Yeah.
public,
And I almost think that could be an executive discussion. And we will be going to an executive session between this committee and government ops tonight. So I think, Aileen, if you can give us a little bit of an update.
As much as I can,
Yes, as much as, yeah.
as much as I can.
Appreciate
appreciate
that.
that.
Doug, you comfortable?
I'm good. Yeah, that's
We have
good
your
news.
report.
Yeah, exactly. So we have that report and then I'm ready to unveil our district annual report as well. So I brought some copies hot off the press. We distributed them at our board meeting earlier today. I'll leave some copies on the front table for everybody to grab a copy and to share it with whoever they need to. We'll give it out at our other meetings. A lot of pictures in there, once again, it's just a snapshot of what we do. We don't put everything that we do in there because it's just some quick highlights. Some of our stuff gets repetitive. The stream bank looks like a stream bank and we just try and hit the high points.
Got some nice black cows on green grass.
Yeah, from the town of Brutus, and we didn't even Photoshop in the hot air balloon that was in there. It just happened to be there and a grant project over at Wellers. So, it was a good project. Just happened to work out. So as you guys were saying, you already got a report. We're just gearing up essentially for construction season. That's right around the corner. Waiting on some grant funding to be announced and the state budget to see where some funding is for that. So once all that comes out, then we really get the ball on it. So,
Any questions from legislators?
I like your picture report even better.
yeah, pictures are great.
Always makes the report go easier.
Make your life easy.
Thank you, Doug.
Awesome, thanks. I'll leave these right up there.
Yep. And yeah, right, cover.
Yeah.
How you doing, Dan?
Pretty good. So just want to add, one thing that was in my report. We were, up at Strong Nature Center along with, Doug and his team and Jim D'Angelo for the clips, working through our 4-H program on all those pinhole viewers and explaining some of the science. So we saw about 80 kids through that, and it'll probably go into the total number of people there, but that was a good day despite the clouds. Want to highlight, we are working with our partners at the university on staying up to date on the transmission of avian influenza to cattle in several states. Nothing to worry about here in New York right now.
One thing I'd like to bring up is that I did attend the youth development with the 4-H over to Caraval. And I talked to Jason, and hopefully we're gonna have 2 or 3 of the 4-Hers present at our next legislative meeting. So I think we've come a long way with 4-H in the last 3-4 years. There was like 40 kids there. You said you got 36 signed up or whatever.
Yeah,
It was
and then
probably
we had,
over 40 kids
Yep.
that were there that participated. It's exciting to see that. It's exciting to see how agriculture is becoming a little bit more included in our schools and the young people and everything. Thank you.
yeah, and thank you for attending. It was good. Ended up being a good morning. The kids were there from about 9 to 1:30, so
Great.
put them through a lot of different events and learned several different things, so.
Very good. Any other questions? Thank you.
I look forward to the 4-H
Yeah.
presentation.
Karen?
Before I get to the report that they just put on the screen, the eclipse went fantastic. Other than the weather, it was all good news all around the county. We will be providing our assistant Riley with the report post-event in order to provide some of the numbers and some of the impact that the eclipse had on our region. There's 2 coming programs that we're doing that I want to highlight. One is sustainability. The tourism office is doing an outreach to all of our partners to identify sustainable initiatives that they're doing. This is critical for the evolution of the tourism industry, but we also want to identify these wonderful stories of great things that some people are doing and to demonstrate to other businesses that these things are possible and to encourage those. The event grant, which was, we've been running a grant program for our office for the last 3 years that incentivizes event creation throughout the county. This is our 3rd year. It got launched February 23rd, and submissions are due April 15th. So we're looking forward to see who submitted for events this year. Our advocacy committee reviews those. And something that's not in my report, because it kind of came up after I submitted the report, which I don't know, it's been around, so I don't know how many of you have been aware of it. And that's the occupancy tax. The occupancy tax law for Cayuga County is up for renewal right now. And the city of Auburn put up a resolution requesting to divide the occupancy tax generated in the city of Auburn to between the city and the county. So the way that the occupancy tax law works right now, and the way it is in the book, is that it is delegated to the tourism. 95% of what gets collected in the county from occupancy tax gets passed on to the tourism office, 5% stays within the county. And the office is designated to use these funds as marketing throughout the outside of the region to inform people of all the great things that that there is to do in Cayuga County. The proposition by the city of Auburn to split the tax inside the city hotels would have a significant impact on our budget and therefore the programming that we're able to do. I pulled together some numbers and I did this kind of quick, so there is some details that did not come through. But what I put together for you is looking at our 2023 occupancy tax, which was what you're able to do. Sorry about that. Just curious.
All right.
The Auburn hotels bring in about 38% of the full occupancy in the county. Into Aurora on its own, about 24. Other hotels, home rental, on the percentages designated on there. If the law were to be changed, this would create a deficit to our budget of approximately $320,000. It would severely impact the programming that we're able to do. As a nonprofit organization, it's critical for us to do more programming than we spend in operating expenses. Is one of the things that we work on very hard. Right now, we have an excellent percentage distribution. This would create a severe hit. Underneath, I listed some of the programs, some of the initiatives that would need to go away if we lost this funding, because we simply wouldn't have the money to do these programs. And there's still a deficit even beyond these. So we are looking at a potential hit on our staff. We have an excellent team right now. We have been able to accomplish some amazing things. I'd like to also point out to you in the first page, the graph at the top left, this kind of explains how our organization works. Tourism offices are programmed and work a little differently. Ours looks at the holistic impact that tourism does for the destination, not just put a pretty ad together, send it out there and hope they will come. We really work with the communities. As several of you know, and from our previous reports, we have conversations with the community itself. Who are you? Who do you want to be? What kind of visitors do you want to invite? What are you proud of? And what do we need to highlight? So we try to ensure that we highlight the identity of the destination and to ensure that tourism is sustainable and regenerative, bringing to the area. The other thing that this highlights is not only do we want to target the right visitor, but as the right visitor comes here, they get enamored with the destination. And we have story upon story of visitors' comments about it. They want to live here, then they want to work here, and they want to invest. The tourism office is beyond just a destination marketing and management organization. It also serves as a very strong economic development agency because of this message, because we try to get people to come here and invest here, fall in love with the destination, and make it grow. This is a time right now that this messaging is very critical, especially with the future investments of Micron. And we've been working hard at elevating that message regionally, who the destination is and what kind of businesses and people would love to live and work here. Lots of other information on there for you to review, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
I'll comment first now. But I really didn't want this conversation here tonight.
Right.
But I appreciate some of the information here because some of the information is very interesting for us. And it shows, it gives us a lot of meat to go with. And so I appreciate that. I didn't want the conversation. So I appreciate the information that you gave us because I think it's valuable to us as legislators.
Thank you. And if I may, one other item on here. In the bottom left of the back page, it identifies two different outreaches that the city of Auburn is pursuing as far as occupancy. One is instilling an additional 5% occupancy tax on the city hotels, which would be independent of the occupancy tax collected for the Cayuga County Tourism Office. This could bring to the city what is about $439,000 plus about a third of the $291,000. So we're looking at between $500,000 to $600,000. That 5%, which is independent of the tourism budget, that already has been submitted through Senator May, the request to Governor Hochul to look at that additional up to 5%. They can be anywhere range in between there. So on top of that is a second avenue that's being pursued, and that is taking the half of the occupancy tax in the city of Auburn. And that is the one that would be a significant hit on our budget. So there are two independent conversations. If theoretically both of these were to go through, the city of Auburn would be looking to seek 7.5% occupancy tax accumulation from the city properties. It is a significant reach, duplicitous, and it would significantly impact the success that this office has had.
Any legislators have any questions? Committee members, legislators? Otherwise, I thank you for the report. Thank you for the information.
Excellent. And everybody's got my email if you want to.
Hold on.
Can I do an extra copy of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can leave the extras on the table in case the other legislators want them. And
Thank you.
like I said, there's some valuable information for us as legislators in there.
Thank you.
Mr. Rhineflesh.
Hello, everyone. I had to apologize for not having my report in. Once again, my technological skills have failed me. I was traveling and wasn't able to get it sent forward. The Water Authority hasn't had a lot of drastic changes in the last month. We're pursuing the work we have endeavored in the past. The one big thing that we have in accounts in the last month is we've got our request into the Congressman's office for the congressional direct spending request for the Cayuga Lake Protection Plan project. We got a request in the Senator Schumer's office and the Senator Gillibrand's office. We've continued to work with the city and the towns and villages on discussion about regionalization and any areas that we could cooperate and just work together a little more. So that discussion has continued on also.
The, in my discussions earlier, you're one of them that can, it depends on what's going on and stuff, but we can communicate on a monthly basis, whether you need to be here. But like Han said earlier, if you're not here, we really do appreciate a report.
Yes, and with good weather coming, I greatly appreciate that offer.
Very good.
Can I ask a question?
And
then?
yes, you can.
The Cayuga Lake project, is that the sewer project on Honaco Road?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
And that's why it's the Cayuga Lake protection?
yes. Yeah, and that, we have great support for that project, so we're looking forward. And we've staged that project in a way that we're looking to see what our opportunities for grants and what kind of revenue stream we can create, what kind of grants and funding we can get before we form the district. The problem is that at the end of the day, everyone wants to know what it's gonna cost. And, and you hate to give hypotheticals to say, well, X, and if we get grants, it could be Z, right? So we're trying to get as much of that homework done ahead of time to give people good, honest answers to what the cost could be.
What are you seeking in grant funds?
We're really looking for 40 or 50% grant funding. EFC is, and the WIA grants are very in tune to watershed protection right now. The state had just last fall passed the $4 billion bond act for these types of projects. So we're pretty optimistic that this project is fundable.
$1 million? I mean, what are you asking for?
We're asking for 50%. We're asking for actually 15 to 20 million.
15 to 20 million for the sewer project on Honaco Road.
Yeah, and that project also includes, substantial upgrades to the Village of Aurora wastewater treatment plant.
So they would be submitting the request also then, right? Cooperation with you folks?
I think they're taking a different path, but they are looking for grants also for their portion.
Any other questions for Carl? All right, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you. Thank you.
Kyle, you're right on the hot seat here. We have your report. And we appreciate you give us a report every month, and I expect that will continue also. Absolutely. So any questions for Kyle Weisker? He doesn't even want to sit down. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you sending him a thank you card
I
every
will.
other month? Yeah.
See you in a couple months.
Yeah.
Gary.
Oh, yeah, I've got laryngitis, I apologize, but I have my report. Things I just want to call your attention to. I did want to thank the highway department for properly filling the potholes in some of our parking lots. It was much appreciated. The old days, they used to come to just drop some gold patch in, and it would be out in no time. They're doing it right. They're writing it down and filling it properly, so I appreciate that. I wanted to appreciate the Parks Department for assistance with what little snow we have had this winter. They've helped us out with that. Yeah, we should have the specifications for the county office building roof by 4/11. And purchasing plan to put out the bids on 4/15. And then bids will be due on 5/13. So we'll know what's going on with that. Moving on down to we'll talk a little bit about the steel portion of the roof. There is a resolution there today about funding the design of that roof. There's more information in the Teams box.
While we're on that one, why don't we, put DPW two up? Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Knight, I'll second it. You know, and go ahead now, Gary.
Yep, that's to authorize Collier Engineering and Design to develop design specifications and drawings for the replacement of the standing steel roof over the public safety building. You guys do have in your Teams box, whatever it is, just for legislators only, a lot of information about that roof that'll give you, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do you know about how many square feet that is?
You know, I don't, I did not measure it, I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to picture where it is on that building. Is it over the administration part or?
Yeah, it's the original part of the jail that was built at first. If you look at the stuff that's in that Teams box, it's all in there. It'll show you exactly what section we're talking about.
Any questions for Gary?
This is a $56,200
Right.
request from the general fund.
Yeah.
And is that because there wasn't an opportunity to get it into the budget for 2024?
Well, what I do with these items, I go to the budget director and get guidance from her on where to draw the funds, and she makes recommendations. So that's where that comes from.
Thank you.
And this is just for the design and specification,
Right.
it's not any kind of construction.
You're gonna have another shot at whether you want to approve it or not in the future.
Go ahead, Hans.
One of the things I want to see, and I've asked for one of the meetings, is a breakdown of the $31 million for renovation costs. A breakdown, you know, what all is it going for, et cetera, et cetera.
For this building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions
Yeah, I get you
for the public safety building? Go ahead.
I guess Heidi was asking, why didn't you budget for this in your budget? Not where should the money come from?
All I can say is, I wish I had, but I didn't.
Okay,
And, you know, if hindsight's 2020.
Okay.
that really was your question, right?
Yes.
All
because,
right, I
you know,
apologize.
the resolution even indicates the, you
Yeah.
know, it's been a 17-year process.
Well, wait a minute, actually, I've got a better answer.
Okay.
As long as we have it, I'm not responsible for the public safety building budget. I don't control the public safety building budget. I do, however, provide them building maintenance services. So therefore, even if I had thought of it, I would have been able to include something in their budget.
That would be the sheriff's budget, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Doesn't come under buildings and grounds.
I'm not.
That was a good
I was gonna say, that's
No.
Hey, plus for you.
Get somebody else.
You can argue that, well, why didn't you tell them to put it in there?
Yeah, right.
That's where I blew it.
Okay.
After all that, any other questions? Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
I do have another surprise that happened today that I'm working on out of the public safety building. They have two 500-gallon hot water tanks out there that with attached boilers. They were both installed in 1987, and ironically, they're both starting to leak at the same time. They're really big tanks. Concern I have is if they were to fail catastrophically, we'd be moving incarcerated individuals. And we don't want to do that. I'll be working with the chairperson. I don't think she even knows about it yet, maybe, but on an emergency resolution to authorize those being replaced, because we really can't go through the whole bidding procedure and all that to get these replaced. Too much of a chance of having to move people around, and we don't want to be doing that. Again, chances of them catastrophically failing aren't horribly high, but if they do, it's a disaster.
But yet there is a chance.
There is a chance, right? There's always a chance. whenever something's leaking like that, you know it's gonna start to leak worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon you gotta shut it down. Right now, I think one of them's doing 17 drops per minute and the other one's doing 22 drops per minute. I actually timed it just for the information for.
Well, they can take a shower under it then.
Yeah.
Slow shower. All right, you have PPW 3.
Yep.
The fixing date notice for the public hearing on basically on this roof.
Yeah, and the repairs for the county office building roof, right?
You have a motion? Motion seconded by Tom. Discussions, any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. And then PPW 4 for a part-time laborer that
One resigned.
motion.
In the budget.
Move it.
Seconded. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thanks. Go
Okay,
save
thank
your
you.
voice.
Well, you do this.
Mr. Delastrito.
Well, if I can follow Seinfeld, but. Got my report in front of you. I would add a couple of notes, obviously for the eclipse at the Sterling Nature Center. We parked about 400 cars within the property, even more out on, Farden Road. Jim estimated we had probably about 1,800 people there around the center and even more out on the park and then other sections of the park where you can drive to separate from where we go in. We filled all the parking at Emerson Park that day. So we had capacity crowds at both locations, which is great. Oops, not so much, but we had a lot of folks at both the locations, so it's great. They had a lot of programming wrapped around it up at the Sterling Nature Center, and they've done a lot of social media outreach since then from the event, so it was good to see. The Ready Group is targeting the last week in April. They're going to release a date here at a moment, I hope, for the actual opening date for the new Sterling Nature Center, and obviously that will come out in Cascade probably through Aileen's office.
The building wasn't open during.
The building was not open. They did not want to have a soft opening for the building before the ribbon cutting actually happened.
Were there restrooms available?
There were lots of restrooms
Okay,
and
yeah.
portable restrooms,
All right.
a lot of them, and then also in the building itself, in the structure itself. And we ironically didn't have an issue there, although we were expecting one.
Yeah.
But no, it went out, it went very smoothly. So we're really happy with that. We've got the construction of the shelter going on up at the park. That was funded between the county and Senator May's office. They're putting roof on, so it's nice to see that coming up above the ground. The Friends are working diligently. The Friends of Emerson Park are working diligently with Zach Rec to do some design. They're going to start to go out and fundraise this summer for a new destination playground on the island. I continue to work with Steve, his predecessors at the planning office, with WBA for the initial design for the amphitheater also on the island up there. So those are our big projects that are going on.
PPW 5, no, PPW 7.
Yeah. 7 is authorization to accept the CGS a pricing fee schedule regarding electronic payments for the Parks and Trails Department.
A motion?
Make motion.
Seconded by Don. Any questions? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. 8.
8 is authorization to accept a multi-year grant from the Fred L. Emerson Foundation in support of public programming at Emerson Park. We have the previous 2 years kind of ad hoc requested grants from them for programming. Since those 2 years have gone very well, we had a discussion with them and they thought it would behoove us to have a multi-year deal since we're committed as they are in the future going forward to keep doing the programming at the park and ending it too.
Motion? Tom, seconded by Gail. Any comments?
I do, just a question. Is that mostly the concerts that this is supporting or is there other programming?
It's about half and half. Half of this would go toward the July 3rd event, really wrapped around the fireworks, and the other half is
So
split
those
between
two things.
operations. So those two absorb a lot of that. As we go forward, the Friends have committed to picking up more and more of the costs of the concert series so we can expand into other programming. That's the
So it's kind of exciting that you can actually plan for things. It's kind of
Correct.
Kind of cool. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. And PPW 9.
Nine is authorization to contract with Young Explosives for the July 3rd Independence Day celebration fireworks display.
Motion,
Make a motion.
Vito, seconded. Comments? How do you compare what one company will do with the other? You gotta have so many 3-inch, so many 4-inch.
We do, actually, that's exactly what we do. We have a list of the types, manufacturers. Most of them are done by diameter and then show length and have to come up with a similar spec to that. And that's kind of how you compare it. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
And I think we have the highway department. Brian.
Living the dream.
Wow, the weather's kind of been a dream.
It has been, it's been really nice. We've gotten a lot of work done that we wouldn't have gotten done if we had winter, so. Yeah. Anybody have any questions for me? I
Have your report. You want to move right to resolution PPW 5?
That is authorizing to award Vector Construction, the Bridge New York project on Jericho Road.
Move it. And the second,
Second.
DeVito? Questions? I find it interesting that once we commit to this, that if there's any cost overruns, we're committed to them. So why did we even put a number in there to begin with?
Because they require us to write the resolution in a specific way,
Yeah.
and then we have to amend it 14 times to get to construction. And in the past, we used to be able to get tip money or stip money, and those pots have dried up. So now we're holding the bag.
So we'll get some Bridge New York money for this?
Yes, 1.2 million, I believe it was, off the top of my head. It's guaranteed and that's it. No over. Once the bids come in 2 years later, after the project's been approved.
Yeah.
We're sitting there holding the bag now.
Any other-
So to say it's 95% federally funded is not actually accurate.
At the time that was assessed.
Correct. Yep.
Did I have the motion and second for this already?
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions for Brian on?
Just for information, when are you planning to do the work this year?
Yes, it'll be this season. Construction, late summer will be. We'll have to wait on the steel.
Is it gonna still be steel deck bridge?
No. Concrete box.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
PW 6 is authorizing to fill a medium equipment operator's position, which is the backfill on the welder's promotion.
Motion?
Second.
Nightingale. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
If there isn't any other business for this committee, I would ask for a resolution to go into executive session. For legislators, probably in caucus room 1.
Make motion.
Motion by DeVito, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Opposed? I'm opposed. Carried. Yeah, put it down. I
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just want to close the meeting. Went to executive session to discuss real estate negotiations. And I'm looking for a
Oh, I'll make a
motion to go out of executive and back into regular, and Stephanie and Hans, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. And Brian says 5:30 for.
Got a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
To
Never
adjourn.
adjourn this.
All in favor? Yeah. And, that's your father, I just hope it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that.
All right, let's do a roll call. Legislator Daley,
Here,
Legislator Shay. Here. Legislator Strong. Here. Legislator Vitale. Motion approved, the minutes on March 13th, 2024. So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any objections? All right. All right, so what's, Batman, you online? Yeah, you gotta unmute.
I am.
We're in our fourth year of Zoom at this point. We gotta know what's up, okay?
No, here's the question. Do you prefer I stay muted?
Yes.
Today.
Here.
that's very loaded.
I'll get a mulligan on.
A lot of questions you want to hear the answer to.
Yeah, exactly. So
You got the
you guys got the report. We got through the primary, very low turnout for us and statewide. And one of the things I wanted to point out with turnout, the work in the Board of Elections is not really a function of how many people come out to vote, because we have to prepare the every polling spot, the poll workers and so on. So the fact that very few people voted in this primary did not lessen our workload too much, and it's an important thing to keep in mind. But the turnout was abysmal. As you see in my report, it's about 5% for Republicans, about 6% or 6% Republicans, 5% Democrats. And we're hoping for better turnout in the future. So.
Okay. Is there anything else, Batman?
No, not unless you got questions.
Oh, we don't have questions. So we're gonna move on to Sheila, and
Great.
Sheila has no updates at this point. Nope. All right. Cool. And Fred, he has no updates, right, Fred? Is that true? Okay.
Fred known as Rich.
Fred, no Rich. Scan, you got anything?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, I know Brian wants that. Brian Scanlon.
I've been called a lot worse. So first off, I just want to offer my apologies for not getting the monthly reports to you by the deadline. Not to make excuses, but Lisa and I are both new. We were in month-end financials, and it takes time to develop that. So we didn't get those done after the deadline. So here's the reports for 3 of the 4 departments. Years. I have no resolutions for this month. Do you have any questions on? I think I'm just getting reports now, but pretty standard to what I have been providing you. I've been providing the condensed version to put in the.
Did you get
Right next to you.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. I'll do one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm waiting for.
I thought it was something. I didn't open with that.
I read slow, sorry.
Right.
A lot of work down there, man.
Crazy month, very crazy month. It's not even summer yet.
Just curious, where are these passport numbers rank? These seem pretty good numbers
There's
coming out of the cold weather.
absolutely, from what I'm told, passports are up.
Yeah,
Very
wow.
big. A lot of it is the real IDs coming out now and some of the other documents, so sounds like everybody's all off because they're seeing an uptick.
What, okay, so just for my own clarity, the real IDs, what does that do to the passport? It's like, is it replacing the passport or is it like connecting like countries like Mexico? Like-
Real ID is domestic travel, and I think it can get you to Mexico and Canada as well.
That's that you drive, not fly.
Correct,
It's an upgraded license?
basically. It's a federal
I'd
ID.
like to see one.
It's one step higher than enhanced.
Is it?
Yeah.
seen myself here.
Didn't realize it.
The north latest and greatest, they tell me. That's the enhanced. That's enhanced. Ah. Just gotta step above that before you get to the passport. Oh, I have that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rest.
Just a couple of things I want to update you on project wise. I'm the lone survivor of not being passport certified this time, but my goal is to do that in the next month or two. Along with get my notary, and I'll have everybody in the office pretty much up to speed as far as passports, a couple more to get the notaries. We started our donate light kickoff in the DMV. It was very well attended. We had some donors and some recipients and some families of donors come in. It was very nice. IT completed our migration over from the IQS computers to county computers. I talked about this before. It makes all of our jobs easier. We're all on one machine now. Tom's team did a great job on that. A couple of hiccups going through it to be expected, but we worked through it. This team's very responsive. Thank you, Tom. Eligible list just came back to HR. Was approved yesterday. Civil Service Commission. I do have 2 openings in my department presently. Some provisional openings. Without going into personnel matters, I'm going to be moving forward in the next month on some of those things. As stated before, I had 2 openings in the senior clerk role because I just took one person out of there, provisionally appointed them to the index and recording clerk role. We did that last month. So that created a second opening. The prior opening is going to remain vacant. I don't have any intention of filling it at this time. But I do intend to fill one spot there, so we have 2 senior clerks working. There's a lot of training going on in our office right now. Myself and Lisa, obviously, but they're having people take on new roles and new items, trying to gain experience and stuff. So we're very, very busy. We're backlogged in our checking of documents, which is checking is very important because of the accuracy of the documents that we record and file. So we're backlogged on that a little bit. Nothing to be alarmed of, but we're plugging through that. Staff is really working hard. I opened up the door a little bit for people to come in a little bit early, and we compensate them with time. So it's no financial burden, but it's helping us get our feedback on the ground. That seems to be working well.
The DMV at one point, if you didn't come in person, we didn't get revenue from those transactions, and that's now changed. We get we get the same percentage if it's mail or in person. Is that true?
Most of that's correct. It is just one rate now. We're getting a low percentage before if it went online. We're getting a higher percentage than what it is now. It's 10.5% now. It's
across the board.
Across the board.
Do we see any changes in revenue related to that, or?
Yes. So Peter and I talked about it last month, and it's hard to evaluate at this point because it's only a couple months into the year. But we're seeing a large uptick in traffic in our office right now because the state offices, the state offices in general, aren't taking dealer traffic anymore, and they're trying to cut way back on in-person traffic. So we're getting a lot of overflow through state offices or not in Doggett County. There are a lot of those with us right now.
Mostly car dealers.
Mostly car dealers at this point, but also private citizens because the state is trying to push everybody to go online.
Okay, and so, those that don't want to come in person here. Okay.
But to answer your first question, we are seeing increase financially from the state's 10.5%. And I'll try to have more information for that for the April meeting, if we can produce those numbers. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
I got, sir. Yep. Regards to records, I think it was last month or maybe it was the month before, you talked about records that were moldy or whatever. You're not allowed to the folks that are doing the scanning and all that. They're not allowed to touch them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so do we have a lot of those boxes or is there
At present, there's 2 boxes I'm aware of.
so that's what I'm saying. Is it a low number?
It's a low number. They're on the way
they're in transit, I think they get here April 24th and they pick up the next load to go out. So we still have some loads to go out, so we don't know if there is gonna be more until they.
But it's a low number, it's not like it's a lot.
It's, yes,
Fine, thank you.
nothing I'm concerned of.
And there's a special process to recoup any information.
We're figuring that out at this point, how we're gonna go about that. For protection of our staff as well, the safety.
We've been breathing,
Is that overwhelming for you?
all right. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry. All right.
I dismissed myself from the meeting. I'll just get to it.
All right.
Yes, Andy's mom. Since well. Yeah. She's been sick.
We have my reports. I would be happy to answer any questions or comments you may have.
You're working too hard.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah, there is.
It's,
You know, Tom, for time purposes.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, we'd like to hear, Russell, and solution, and they, of course, the back, so just.
Yep.
I'm good.
How much is 0.7 minutes, by the way? Is that 0.7 hours? Is that 7?
yes, it's, yeah, 0.7 hours. Yep.
All right, so you have a reso, which is, I believe, GO1, authorizing the chief information officer to fill 150 computer system technician position. Right, I get a motion.
Aye.
In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Someone resigned and.
We had a resignation, yes.
Okay.
Hearing none. I don't know what to say if they're hearing none if you didn't know that. What do you say? What do you say? Yes.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, Todd, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And then, yeah.
Full report.
Kevin.
I'm not gonna sit down unless you want me to. Report as submitted, this past weekend, we teamed with the Auburn Chamber Orchestra. Had a great concert over at Auburn Junior High, had about 30 veterans in the audience who were recognized. We had a small reception afterwards. And now we're planning for future events and penciling in, festivals and that kind of thing. So if you have any, that is, I keep saying, if you have anything we want us to show up at, let us know. And the other thing we did is we actually visited Sterling, Fairhaven. We were in their town hall, Office for the Aging was there, and talked to some people up there as well. So we'll go to the different towns if they want us to come as well.
Did you get invited there or?
So I saw it was happening and I
That's okay.
I kind of asked, hey.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll come along.
We'll come along, yeah,
I
absolutely.
didn't know if they reached out
Yeah,
and said.
we've been at a few of the town halls, but
Uh-huh.
it's kind of hit or miss. Like I went to, last year I can't remember now, but I went down to Summerhill. They had a Fillmore Day kind of thing. And I went down there and I talked to like four veterans while I was down there. Just for
So
a
you
really
sort of
small-
look for the events
Correct.
and then you get involved.
Correct. I have discovered if you build it, they will not always come.
Mhm.
And so I try to find things that are happening and then show up and
Veterans are all stubborn.
and talk to people. What's that?
I said, veterans are all stubborn boss.
Can often be very stubborn. Yes, that is a true statement. If I haven't said it before, my unofficial mission statement is to reduce curmudgeonry. So that's what we do. Questions?
Good.
All right. Good night.
Is it possible you can explain GO2 a little bit? Because I don't truly understand.
Yeah, do you want me to come up?
Yeah, come on up. Almost an hour late.
Board of five districts.
So Fred wasn't sure if we should come through Ways and Means or Government Ops, so I said, we'll go through a Government Ops, that way we're covered with both committees. But there is a parcel in Moravia, it's known as Granny's Gas Station. That had a DEC
cleanup and has been designated as clean by the DEC. It is eligible for a tax foreclosure. It has been for a number of years now.
We never took this property because of the,
Because it's in-
environmental issues.
Correct, because we actually weren't initially sure that it was clean,
Mhm.
or if there was still some sort of contamination there. So we've been hesitant to foreclose on it. The Village of Moravia has asked us to foreclose on it. They have a Project Forward grant from the state to basically revitalize their downtown. And so they want to use this property, I believe, to create a park type space. So Fred has been in contact with the DEC, the Spill Foundation Fund, and they've basically said that they will give us a waiver of liability. So it's also uncertain whether or not, if we did foreclose on this because the cleanup has already occurred, but because it's related to petroleum, if we would be responsible for that liability or not. So he was able to negotiate that we could get a waiver of liability. We would have to pay $5,000 to get that. However, the Village of Moravia has passed a resolution that they, one, are agreeable to taking the property, that they definitely want it, and two, that they would reimburse the county for that $5,000 fee.
I thought we were selling it to them for 5,000, but we're just covering our costs, right? Yes, okay.
Essentially, we're getting reimbursed for that waiver.
Yeah.
So before we actually foreclose on this property, given that it's not a typical foreclosure, we want to know if the legislature supports doing this. One, signing the agreement with the Spill Fund for that waiver, and two, transferring it to the Village of Moravia.
So this resolution is authorizing the chair to go on a partnership with, or what are we authorizing?
So it's authorizing to sign the agreement with the Spill Fund to get the waiver of liability in return for payment of $5,000.
And
So-
accept the 5 from Moravia?
And then to transfer the property to Moravia in exchange for them reimbursing us the $5,000.
This resolution covers all that, or is it just?
It does.
It does.
It really does cover all that.
Does,
I didn't read the whole resolution.
it's
I
a lengthy
apologize.
resolution, there's a
It's
lot
like
in it.
80 whereas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and
I'll
quite
make
a
the
few
motion.
resolved.
A second.
I don't know if I can vote. Can I vote?
You don't own the land, do you?
I don't own the
You
land.
want to though, I can tell.
I did want it.
I know that you had an
He said
interest in it.
6,000.
Let's
Yeah.
get
Yeah, I'll give you 6 for it.
Well, you wanted the property?
Hell yeah, I did. Right on Main Street.
He wants to negotiate.
You said we're not selling it to Mark Strong, we're getting
Can't.
it to the village?
Well, I mean, essentially,
I already
well, we
inquired.
can't sell it to him.
I already
but,
inquired,
that
trust
would
me.
be,
Call it Granny Strong's.
Yeah.
if you don't support transferring it to the village, then that's your call.
No, I think,
But, they do have
They
a
have a use for it,
grant,
yeah.
they have a use for it, they have a plan to revitalize their downtown. Planning has been helping them get that grant, so I think it is good for the village, and I think overall that's good for the county, so.
what do you do? You're gonna put a park there?
I believe it's a park.
Okay.
Planning has been, more working on what the redevelopment is
Lisa.
going
I'm
to
gonna put
be.
some, nah, I can put some flower pots and
Steve,
a
what
couple
is it?
benches for all
Steve has
the
his hand
derelicts
up.
and drunks to hang out.
Do you
on.
know exactly what they're gonna?
Right now, the plan is to make it sort of a food court where food trucks can come in and sort of clean up the space. That doesn't preclude in the future, if there's a good way to put it back on the tax roll, somebody wants to put a building there after the village is revitalized, that gives them the opportunity to do that. And the fact of getting the waiver and the release of any liabilities, it's a very valuable paper for them to have. Because a future person developing that
Oh, yeah.
property knows that it's clean and knows that
Money.
no one's gonna come after them.
He ain't got any money. He dead.
At one time, they must have
Broke.
made a little money.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we got a motion, we didn't finish it, so we got a a motion, a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Thank you. I'm gonna invite, legislator.
Sorry, Mark, we could have found a way for you to get it.
It's a heads up earlier.
Trust me, I checked into it months ago. Okay. It's better than yours.
I'm gonna invite, legislator, Nightingale up, for this last resolution.
Okay. This resolution is proposing the distinction of a county poet laureate. We would be one of just a few, maybe the third in New York State counties that have created the distinction of a poet laureate. The resolution itself just speaks to how poet laureates increase the focus on arts and culture. The creation and the distinction of poet laureates is something that goes back through ancient times. People talk about what does laureate mean? Well, it comes from laurel, the fact that the poets in Greece that were appointed in this distinction were given a ring of laurel leaves. That's all that means. This is a distinction and not a position, not a department. There's no stipend. It actually increases the opportunities for youth and adult involvement in the arts, because typically a poet laureate not only writes things like inaugural poems for opening sessions or important occasions in the county, but also creates programs that are sponsored for free throughout the county. As you read the resolution, you'll see that this is a proposal to set up a committee. The committee is described here, and then that committee would develop what a nomination process would look like in the community for poets, what that selection process would look like, and then what those job responsibilities or poet laureate responsibilities would look like. But as I mentioned, typically a poet laureate is writing poems for special occasions and also promoting poetry, writing, or anything in the arts culture throughout their term. I'm proposing a 3-year term, which is pretty typical at the county. Even though there are other counties across the state, there are only a couple in New York State. The 3-year term is what's pretty typical.
So a designation of an individual lasts for 3 years until then another individual is designated.
Right, then another nomination process, selection process, et cetera.
Is it pronounced laureate?
Laureate.
Laureate. Motion.
Do we have to vote on this? Yeah, we don't have to vote on this like you want us to.
There's a question from legislator, DeVito.
Yeah, just a quick question. You did clarify, because I actually got some calls on this in an email about it being a position. We've already identified it's not a position, that it's a stipend at all, and the volunteers that are on the committee are strictly volunteer, correct? Okay.
Most
And
of
then
the committee is made up of
County
Related
employees.
Arts Council.
Yeah,
Which
okay.
is also the other New York State counties who have poet laureates use their local arts councils as the
Okay,
the major portion of
yeah, that
reviewing,
was.
selecting.
That was my understanding of it all. And then one last thing, just for clarification, as far as traveling to different events that you may represent or your committee may represent, there isn't any reimbursement for traveling costs or anything, correct?
No, it's just a
Okay.
distinction.
Okay.
It's a distinction, so it comes with no stipend or county refund for travel, et cetera.
Perfect, thank you.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Is this, and maybe this is a question for Rich, is this a situation where it's adults? Like, is there a certain threshold over 18, or is this open to children as well? Like, can we have a youth poet laureate, or maybe, okay. I was just curious.
Youth poet laureates are typically a separate
Oh, okay, so this is an adult.
from adult. And there are some municipalities that have youth poet laureates in New York State. No county does, but they have distinctions between the two. And should this pass and there be interest in this level of promoting the arts and culture in our county through a celebration of a poet laureate, then as this developed and moved and, became its own living organism, my next step would be to look at a youth poet laureate for our county.
Mark. Let's see. Strong.
I got 1,000 questions and I'm gonna try to limit it to one.
That's funny, so funny.
I guess my concern is that this is gonna be considered, or the title is county poet laureate. So let's say this individual goes to an event, has a controversial poem that's read, which creates issues. Considering the fact that it's a county moniker, name, distinction, does that make the county liable?
I would defer to, in terms of liability, to our
Wish I had a poetic
legal,
answer for that.
but I'd also say that art and poetry is very much part of freedom of expression. And I would limit any concerns about artistic freedom of expression. I would not be concerned.
Yeah,
You've still got that moniker of county. That's a representation of everybody sitting in this room.
Well, to answer that question, wow, I mean, there's First Amendment questions in there, there's defamation questions in there. It'd be kind of a difficult, I don't know that I could give you a 3-second analysis of that. But I think that's something that as the nominating committee is composed and as they work through it, that's something that they could consider in terms of how you create, something of a job description for the, because it's, so I understand the resolution, you have a nominating committee that will look through and examine exactly what this thing is going to look like, what the position is going to do, and how they're going to handle it.
Right, and
So, but you do have, as Heidi mentioned, you do have the, you want free artistic expression versus, on the bad side would be defamation. But anyone who is an author has to follow that line anyway.
Again, I understand all that.
Yeah.
You still gotta understand, it's that word county. In
Yep.
other words, they're basically saying, or we're saying, they're representing the county.
I think, and freedom of speech, like she said, but if you're getting a poet, I think that even though they represent the county, and I have no experience in this, I would think any type of litigation, you talk about poetry and freedom of speech. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, and two, and again, it goes back to how you describe the job and we're calling it a distinction as opposed to a position. They're not representing, they're not speaking on behalf of the county.
Right.
The county is recognizing that they are an author of distinction. And that may sound like semantics, but I think that's what.
I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, but.
You can do it occasionally here at legislative body, you didn't play a
Well,
lot.
like I said, I could drum up 1,000 questions, but I'm not, because we're working on time.
And
But
that's the way the final,
questions on.
maybe that's how we word the final designation. You're designating somebody, or you're recognizing a poet with this distinction as opposed to appointing them to the, do you see what I'm saying? There's a difference there. You're acknowledging that this person is a published author and is an accomplished poet versus you're trying to say, well, we want you to write all the poems for Cayuga County. I think there's a difference there in the job.
And I think there's probably this nominating committee, right? If anytime we feel disparaged by their work, we never continue. You know, like,
Yeah.
they're here to celebrate Cayuga County. They're not taking this as an opportunity to decimate anything and add to it.
All right, motion adjourned?
Second.
Move it. All in favor?